So what you just saw was a product of 10 hours of frame-by-frame animation. A lot of work for just under 20 seconds of screen time. Pretty crazy. But if you do the effect well, it'll look really cool. Now, the original creator of the video with the dancing, his name is Tim Milgram. Great channel, really cool. I contacted him and said, hey, can I use it because I can't dance and your video looks great. So he was kind enough to let me do that. His channel is in the description. Really cool channel, a lot of dancing, really great stuff. Fiction is also featured in the video, so you can go check that out as well if you're familiar with his work. And the music was actually by Chris Brown, Undecided. Also a really cool song. So there's two reasons why I wanted to do this tutorial. One being it's really cool and it's going viral and a lot of people are going to want to know how to do it. And two, there are a couple tutorials out there already, but those people, or not to bash them, they did really good. But there were a couple things where they made the process a little longer than it needed to be and a little more confusing and a little inefficient. So I was like, hey, there's a better way to do this. So I figured I'm going to make a tutorial, kind of give you guys the ins and outs about it. I recorded my whole screen during the 10 hours of recording, so I'm going to speed it up, but I'm going to talk over it so that you know what I'm doing. I'm going to explain what it is and describe the effects to you so that you know what's going on. So without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. Okay, so here we are in After Effects. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time, but remember, go ahead and subscribe for more of this content for editing and visual effects and stuff like that, because there's a bunch more coming in the future. So here's how we're going to start out. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to do was do the glasses on his face. So what I wanted to do is to get a reference, because obviously my drawing is not that great. So we're going to go ahead and use Google Images. I'm just going to grab an image. Just some glasses, some ones that I like. Originally I started out with some different glasses, and then after that I was like, I don't like those, so I got some different ones. So I just dragged them in and kind of scaled them to how I wanted them to be. And then I originally tried to keyframe the position of the glasses, and it didn't look as realistic, and I didn't really like the whole look. It obviously didn't follow it completely frame by frame, so I wanted it to do that just to give it a much more realistic feel and just to help it flow better and smoother. So what I ended up doing was doing a track, but before that I wanted to use a mask to draw the outline of the glasses so that I have something to put the effect to. You'll understand a little bit more about what I mean in just a second. So what I did was I created a new solid. I did black, that's important. And then what I did was, with the opacity taken down, I traced the glasses, the sunglasses, with the mask tool. Once I was done with the masking, I was going into my effects and controls. I grabbed the effect Saber from videocopilot.net. I'll leave a link in the description. I've used this plugin so many times and it's so useful. So I'll leave the final result of the effects of the Saber on screen so that you can copy it if you would like to. I'm not going to go through every single little detail. It just depends on what you want. It also is dependent on the situation. So you can choose to add more glow or less glow and a whole bunch of different stuff. You can even change the whole look. There's so many different presets, so just play around and see what you like. And then I just created a null object and called it glasses track, just so that I knew where to put the data once I've tracked the motion of the eyes. And I've done a lot of tutorials on how to track in the past. I'll put one in the top right in the cards. You can go and use that tutorial. But I'm going to go ahead briefly show you how I track this. I'm going to do a 2-point tracker. And I decided to make the target relatively large because it was somewhat a little blurry. And so I didn't want it to lose the track halfway through. And I only used part of the composition. I didn't track the whole thing to save myself some time. But you can see that the tracker went off course sometimes, so I just adjusted it where I needed to and then continued with the track forward. And then once I had finished the tracking, I went to the edit target, I applied it to my glasses track, I pressed OK, and then did apply, X and Y, yes, and then you can see that the tracking data has been applied to the null, which is very nice. This is going to save me so much time. So what I did was, once I closed the tab, I went to the glasses, and I just pick whipped it to the null, and you can see that it was fully tracked, nice, looking good. The scale was also done because it was a 2-point track, so when he gets bigger in the frame because the camera is moving closer, the glasses do the same thing. And then I just keyframed the glow intensity and the brightness to bring it in, and then to fade it out as well, because I didn't want to have the glasses throughout the whole shot. So that's how I brought it in and made it go out as well. One neat little trick is using the Shy tool. So right over here, you click this button and then you click it in the top in the composition. You can hide that layer. That way it just keeps things organized. You don't mess around accidentally with a layer you shouldn't be when you're editing. Sometimes you get into it very much and you maybe you start editing the wrong layer by accident. I've done that before. So the Shy layer, this will also become very useful later on when you have a lot of layers in your composition, because we're going to use different layers so we can isolate all these different effects in our composition. That way we can control the color for every single one of them. And if we make a mistake, or later on towards the end we feel like, I don't know if I like this one way back in the beginning, I can just delete it and make a different one, which is actually what I did further towards the end of the tutorial. And then comes the painstaking part. I duplicated my footage. I locked the other footages because I didn't want to mess with those. I made sure that I had one of my main footages selected, the one that I duplicated. I double clicked the video layer that I want to add the brush effect to. I grabbed the brush tool, and then with the brush tool I just draw it frame by frame. One very important thing here in the paint tab is make sure you have the opacity 100, flow at 100, mode at normal, channels at RGB, A, and the duration must be single frame. If you don't have it on single frame, these brush strokes will last like throughout the whole composition. You want it to only last one frame so that you can essentially keyframe it and draw every frame. It's definitely painstaking and the unfun part of the job, but it has some great results. And then in the brushes tab, the brush style is totally up to you. Mess around with it. You can copy the settings that I have here, but I found myself changing the diameter here and there. Sometimes it was to save time, other times I wanted the brush stroke to look a little different than some others, and so that may vary for you as well. Now page up and page down are going to be your favorite friend. Page down going down the timeline by one frame, page up going up the timeline by one frame. This is going to help you because sometimes you're going to have to know the previous position of where you painted, and then when you do page down to a new frame, you're going to create your new brush effect for that frame. Another keyboard shortcut you must know is undo. Command or Control Z. You're going to make a lot of mistakes as you go, and you're going to want to redo some things, so make sure you have that handy as well. And then again, it's just a whole bunch of keyframing. Make sure you have a little bit of overlap each frame. So sometimes I had a bit of overlap when I did my next kind of brush stroke on the next frame, just kind of add a little bit of fluid motion to the whole effect. And also adding this kind of sort of debris on the sides is also very nice. It kind of adds a tiny explosion essentially, and sometimes it nicely accentuates the effect a little bit, especially when it changes into a new effect. And then once you're happy with your brush effect, select the layer with the brush on it, press E on your keyboard for the effects, open the paint and go to Paint on Transparent. That needs to be checked on. That way you don't have the glow effect affecting the whole video. It's only affecting the paint. I'm going to go ahead and grab the glow effect. I'm going to put it on the layer that I've been putting my brush effect on. And then you can go into your glow effect, make sure you have your color B at black, that's important. Your color A is the color that you want the effect to be. And I'll have the effects on screen here so you can copy those effects as well. And you can see here that the glow effect took me a bit of attempts. I just wanted to get it looking right. And it's just because there's such a huge variety and so many options as to how you can get your brushes to look. And so you can see how much time it took just for the first one, just so I can get it to look the way I wanted it to look. And then when I added the dripping lava from the glasses, usually I would do this on a new layer, when I would essentially duplicate the background again and do it on a new layer. But I didn't this time because it was going to be the same color as the previous one, so I just did it on the same one, just to make things a little easier for me. but usually you would duplicate the background and create another layer to work on that one. That way you can control the different colors with your different types of effects. And when I double click the layer to open the layer in a new window, I have the two windows side by side so I can see the update in real time. This way, if I'm drawing stuff when I'm close up in the one window, I can use the other window to zoom out a bit to see the full picture. And then it's just a matter of drawing it frame by frame, make it look good, make the bottom part of the drip bigger and then the top part of it a little smaller. And then at the impact, it might take a couple attempts for you, but you can always reference a drop onto the ground, like a water droplet onto the ground. Usually referencing actual footage will help you out with this, but I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted, so I was just going to go ahead and draw it out. And really, this effect is as wild as your imagination can get. And then when I reached the shoes, obviously when I traced it, the further along in the video that I got, I wanted the whole shoes at one point to be fully traced. So when I moved on to the next frame, I just made sure I started the drawing all over again. I know, it can get quite annoying sometimes as well, but it looks pretty cool as well. So you can see the whole shoes are starting to be covered, and then it kind of disappears into the shoelaces. I like that effect as well. And just remember that this shoe effect that I have here, it's on a new layer so that I can change the color. So what I did was I duplicated my background and did the whole effect with a brush like I've done before. And then I copied the glow effect from the previous layer, pasted it onto this one, and then I changed the color to green, the color that I decided to choose. And then again, one of the most important parts that I've seen people get wrong is I pressed E on my keyboard with my layer selected, went to the paint, and I made sure that the paint on transparent was on, not off. This is important because you don't want the glow to affect the whole image. You only want it to affect the brush, and you can see that over here. And then again, for my next effect, I duplicated the background again, and then I locked that background, and I changed the layer that I'm editing to green just so that I know that that's the layer that I should be editing. And so then I start this whole thing again with the brush, and I'm gonna do the string on his hoodie and just go frame by frame. And maybe this could be a little bit like rotoscoping, where it's pretty similar. And then I just rename the layer just to keep things organized for myself so I can go back and look at it if I need to. And then I unhide my layers again using the Shy tool, copy my glow effect, and then I'm going to paste it on my new layer that I've been editing. Then I'll just change the color to blue. And then I'll go down to the effects, go to the paint, and make sure that it's paint on transparent on. And then pretty much the rest of the effects in this video are the same, or at least the principles are the same. The final look is different because I kind of added different movement and timing to it, but the whole principles are the same. So I'm going to leave them in, but I'm just going to fast forward it for you as well, so like a time lapse, just in case you want to know how I went about the drawing process of it. But I'm going to cut the narration for the rest of the video until the outro because it's mostly unnecessary. I've already shown you pretty much everything you need to know about the whole effect. Most of it is just how far your imagination can go and what you can create from nothing. But if you don't feel like watching the whole time lapse, go to the time code that's on the screen and you can see the final conclusion and the final result as well.
about you. Everything about you. Everything about you.
So all in all, a really great effect. Obviously, you got to put a lot of time into it, but it's so worth it. If you guys enjoyed, go ahead and subscribe. I am going to be making more in the future. I put a lot of time into my tutorials, so the support will really be appreciated. I do a lot of visual effects, editing, streaming, gear, filmmaking, building your own brand, stuff like that. So go ahead and stick around if that's something you're into. Leave a like, it would really help the channel out. But until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep shooting.